guys, it's me, Julia Flowergothic. Now, normally I give the backstory to whatever I'm talking about first, then I do these rules and disclaimers I have in every one of my videos. But due to the nature of today's show, we're gonna have to go from 0 to 100 like this. So I'm going to do it all at the start of the video real quick, okay? Okay.
Hey, Editor Flowergothic here. One more note. This entire video was scripted and a large portion of it was filmed before Shannon Doherty tragically lost her life to cancer.
Disclaimers! I'll mostly be focusing on the 2018 Heather show. I do bring up the movie and the musical, but mostly in comparison to the former. If you want an analysis of the movie or the musical, you'll have to go somewhere else, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Rules! Don't harass anyone I mention in this video. If you disagree with me, fine, but any comments attacking me or others will be deleted and reported. Please, for the love of God, behave yourselves. Content warnings. We'll be discussing suicide, murder, and mental health throughout the video. We'll also be talking about sexual assault, bullying, homophobia, transphobia, and racism. Please take care of yourself while watching, and don't feel bad if you have to stop or skip over some parts. If you need to talk to someone, resources will be in the description below. Thank you. Hey guys, it's Flowergothic, and once again I find myself tearing apart a black comedy show with a lot of gays in it. This time it's 2018's Heather's The Show. Holy shit, this is the second consecutive video where I do this. What am I doing with my life? Heather started life as a 1989 black comedy film. It focused on high school student Veronica Sawyer, played by Winona Ryder. Veronica is part of a popular but feared group of rich white wasps called the Heathers. And before you ask, the clique is called that because the other members are all named Heather. You have Queen Bee Alpha Bitch, Heather Chandler. You have Green-Eyed Beta Bitch, Heather Duke. And you have Anxiety-Ridden Sad Bitch, Heather McNamara. From here on out, I'll be referring to them by their last names: Chandler, McNamara, and Duke. Veronica is super popular because she hangs out with them, but she absolutely hates their guts. Why? You know, because bitches be basic, and bitches be bitches, just look at Kelly Piquet. Anyway, Veronica meets and falls in love with mysterious new student, Jason J.D. Dean. Soon after, Chandler kicks Veronica out of the clique for embarrassing her at a party. Sad for her reputation, but free to do what she wants, she consummates her love with JD in a game of strip croquet. She even tells him that she wants Chandler to puke her guts out. JD takes this quite literally, and the next day... Yep, she straight up died, and Veronica and JD make it look like a suicide. Did I mention this was a black comedy? Don't worry, I won't explain the rest of the movie to y'all. I don't do wiki videos, unlike some people. But here's everything else you should know about the film before we move on. The high school staff act super incompetently in the wake of Chandler's quote-unquote suicide. The guidance counselor throws some events encouraging students to open up about their feelings. But it's later revealed that was solely for the media attention. JD and Veronica kill two jocks who spread a rumor about the latter. The two make it look like they were a gay couple engaging in a double suicide. If you've ever wondered where the "I love my dead gay son" quote and its variants came from, it was this.
My son's a homosexual, and I love him. I love my dead gay son.
Duke becomes the most popular girl in school after Chandler's death. She even wears Chandler's iconic red scrunchie as a representation of her power. She becomes just as ruthless as her predecessor, but she also gets super manipulated by JD. An unpopular student eventually tries to take her life for real, but survives. She gets clowned on for trying to be like the popular kids. And JD turns out to be a nihilistic psychopath. Veronica has to stop him before he blows up the whole school as some kind of twisted message to the world.
So, yeah, watch it at least once, if you have a chance to. It's a darkly hilarious deconstruction of 80s teen movies. All I ask is that you remember it's a product of its time. You know, before Columbine made the idea of high school students killing each other a lot less funny.
Despite glowing reviews from critics, the film bombed at the box office. It eventually got a cult following through home video and TV airings, and it inspired other movies like Jawbreaker and Mean Girls. It even got a musical adaptation in 2010. The musical follows the plot of the film, but with a few changes. It explains how Veronica got into the Heathers clique. It also makes her more of a socially awkward heroine than the cynical anti-hero she was in the movie. It got decent reviews, but it never went beyond off-Broadway in the States. It's super popular in the UK though, where it has performed multiple times on West End.
I saw the film and the musical when I was 15, and I enjoyed them. They were like my favorite film and musical respectively for the longest time. Battle Royale has since been returned to its proper place, and my favorite musical has since shifted to We Will Rock You. I'm kidding, of course, it's Hadestown. Fuck We Will Rock You, that's such a shitbag musical. But of course, we're not the movie or the musical. Talks of a Heathers TV show started as early as 2009, but it took until 2016 for it to come to fruition.
After a couple of false starts, TV Land ordered a 10-episode season. The plan was to make a modernized adaptation of the original movie as season 1. Then it would branch out as an anthology series with recurring themes. Think like True Detective or The White Lotus. Jason Micallef wrote The Treatment and co-wrote all the episodes. He writes for The Acolyte now, but at that point he was only known for some indie film called Butter. The show later got moved to sister station Paramount Network as part of its planned revamp. Filming wrapped up in fall of 2017, and a release date was set for March 7, 2018. But then...
Breaking right now at noon, our first look inside the crime scene days after the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
So, yeah, the Parkland school shooting happened!
For obvious reasons, Paramount decided to delay the show's release to July of 2018. All seemed well again. But then...
Now at 10, horror, heartache, and frustration. Those seem to be the feelings of the day after a deadly mass shooting at Santa Fe High School.
I think Heathers is the only TV show to be affected by multiple school shootings before it even premiered.
After the Santa Fe school shooting, Paramount decided to pull the show altogether. They then changed their mind and decided to air it over a 5-night period in late October of 2018. Of course, this was done with multiple edits, including merging the 9th and 10th episodes into one mega finale. But then... You know what? I'm not gonna do that a third time. The Pittsburgh synagogue shooting happened, and episodes 7 and 8 were pulled. To this day, they have never aired in the States.
Now I, your goth mother, did not watch the edited version. I found the complete, uncensored 10-episode season for your enjoyment. How, you may ask? Well, you can thank our overseas friends.
Paramount sold the show's international distribution rights before its untimely delay. So the first time it truly aired was indeed July of 2018. It just happened to be on HBO Europe. Apple TV Plus also has an uncensored copy for viewing in Australia, which is what I ended up watching.
The series got negative reviews from critics and fans alike. People said it was a shambling, misguided attempt at modernizing Heathers. But why? Well, let me talk about the issues, one by one. In October of 2016, the actors playing the Heathers were revealed. Chandler, Duke, and McNamara were to be played by Melanie Field, Brendan Scannell, and Jasmine Matthews. That wouldn't garner too much attention, save for the fact that they're respectively a plus-sized queer woman, a gay man, and a black woman. When asked why he changed the characters, Jason McAuliffe gave a very odd reason. Let me just read it to you. Let me just show you the quote right now. The reason I changed the Heathers' surface identities is I think today the characterization rings true. Today, all different types of people are more aspirational. People that wouldn't have necessarily been considered the most popular kids in school in 1988 could very well be, and probably most likely are, the more popular kids today. And also because it's a TV show, we have so much more time to explore their characters and get behind it. Of course, no one's seen the show yet. Once they see it, I think they'll get what we're talking about. Jason McAuliffe, have you, ever stepped foot in a suburban high school? In 2016, a survey came out saying at least 1 in 6 LGBTQ students reported being physically assaulted on campus. That was when this series was being scripted! That's when you decided on this weird-ass casting! If we're in the big city, sure, the gays can be popular. But isn't the point of Heathers that they're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Ohio? Isn't that why it's so fucking waspy?
So what? You say? They probably did that whole colorblind casting thing studios do these days. First of all, the aforementioned McAuliffe comment heavily implies, if not confirms, the casting was the exact opposite.
Second, by placing marginalized characters in the role of the Heathers without addressing the struggles they could face, the show misses an opportunity to explore them. It just does the good old identity switcheroo without any meaningful commentary.
Imagine if the show took the time to delve into these characters' backgrounds. Imagine if it took the time to explore how their identities influence their behavior and interactions. How does a plus-sized queer woman navigate being a queen bee? What would a genderqueer person do as a beta bitch? What does a biracial lesbian face when she's popular in a hostile environment? These are interesting ideas the show never touches on. And third, all the other major characters are white, thin, and cisgender. Veronica Sawyer is played by the white Grace Victoria Cox. JD is played by the white, albeit gay, but the character he's played is straight, James Scully. Even the most popular target of the Heathers bullying is played by Brett Cooper. Yes! That Brett Cooper! Aren't thou even surprised?
One more note about the casting before we move on. Surprisingly, the show got 2 big names attached to the project. Who? Well, Shannon Doherty and Selma Blair, of course. Doherty isn't surprising, as she played Duke in the original movie and is the only Heather actress that's both alive and still acting. But Selma Blair kinda confuses me. Yeah, some people have their duds, but how did they get Selma Blair of Legally Blonde and Hellboy Famous? What the fuck? How the fuck do they fucking... The Heathers, Veronica, and JD each have their own sets of issues. I already discussed how the casting of the Heathers was problematic, to say the least.
The three read a lot more like self-righteous social justice warriors than well-rounded characters, and part of this comes from their casting. Again, the director and writers didn't consider the nuances of representation when they casted them. That, in turn, just perpetuated these harmful stereotypes and diminished the impact of these characters' arcs.
The Heathers here can very well be perceived as one-dimensional villains. Hell, they can be seen as, one-dimensional characters in general.
Back McNamara was the earliest of the Heathers to have something resembling a plot. As we've covered, she's a biracial lesbian woman, but in episode 1, she's caught having sex with a male teacher? Oh my god! Instead of realizing that she could be bi or pan or, that she was groomed, the Heathers turn on her for quote-unquote lying about her sexuality. McNamara responds by killing herself at the end of episode 2, making her character development worthless, no matter how fucked up her parents are.
In light of Heather's suicide,
Her death.
are you feeling suicidal?
No. You sure?
You must have at least thought about it.
Once or twice?
Heather Duke left you a note today. It says, "Die, you rusted bitch."
What did you do to Heather to make him or her write such a thing, Heather?
Because
Heather,
when you look at the whole picture,
the picture as a whole.
it's almost like you have nothing to live for.
Duke's characterization is garbage as well. She's a walking, talking stereotype of gender non-conforming people. And she doesn't have as effective of an arc as she did in the film. I've said it before, but I'll add some more context now. In the film, Duke was secretly envious of Chandler's prestige and power. That's part of the reason why she quickly took up the mantle after the latter's death. She was easily manipulated by JD into doing his bidding in a desperate plea for her past to not be revealed. And again, she wears that scrunchie to symbolize her power! But here it's just two drama queens bickering back and forth about who gets to be the top cop. There are no real stakes involved, but maybe I'm thinking that because I'm 24 now and high school drama is just cringe to me. There are no real developments for Duke, not even when her secret is revealed, not even when she uses the AV club to her advantage to make Chandler unpopular. The latter is, of course, even reversed 2 episodes later. The closest she has to an arc, aside from her emotionally abusive and neglectful stepmother, is when Duke learns of JD's true nature in episode 9. But like with McNamara, she dies in that episode, so it's kind of pointless.
As for Chandler, I actually really liked her character. She doesn't have an actual arc, save for one episode when she tries to be nicer, but by God, Chandler's a lovable bastard.
Unlike the movie, where she dies from the incident with JD and Veronica and the Drano. Wait, did I not mention JD put Drano in that drink? He put Drano in that drink. That's what killed her. She actually survives her murder attempt, and she revels in the fact that she can make the two, mostly Veronica though, do her bidding or risk being exposed. And she takes advantage of the situation. She makes herself the face of suicide awareness. She uses the murder attempt to stay popular.
She's a queen. She's the only character in the show with something resembling a consistent moral compass. It helps that she's the closest personality-wise to her movie counterpart, and she was the funniest character by far.
Well, I got everything you asked for. Corn nuts, hemorrhoid cream, adult diapers, and extra small condoms.
I can't believe you actually fell for that.
Maybe you could talk to them. Say it wasn't a big deal.
But it was a big deal, Heather. You threatened me. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to feel safe again here at Westerberg.
I feel like I'm in Spain already.
I'm just going to operate under the assumption that you don't understand doing things ironically. So just order the quesadilla and, I don't know, like it?
JD and Veronica in the show are not good characters, to say the least.
In the film, the two were kind of like foils to each other. While they both hated the cliquey nature of high school, Veronica was more willing to engage with it for the sake of survival. But JD wanted to change it and played into Veronica's desires to see basic bitches and bitchy bitches die. The two aren't necessarily good people, but they had consistent motives, and it's made very clear that JD is a psychopath and should not be rooted for, despite what Tumblr thinks. But in the show, the two's morals are constantly flip-flopping. Veronica starts as someone who doesn't really want to hurt people, but then it's revealed that no, she wants to kill people, and she wants to do it with JD!
The best way to summarize Veronica's inconsistent morals is her arc in episodes 3 through 6.
After McNamara offed herself, all of the main characters, sans JD, go to her funeral in episode 3. Not only does this lead to a garbage attempt to reference the original film,
We love our dead straight daughter.
it also seemingly makes Veronica dump JD, which, makes sense. They almost killed Chandler and indirectly caused McNamara's suicide. That kind of stuff fucks you up. After the breakup, Veronica is talked by Duke into going on a double date with a couple of jocks. JD assumes it's a ploy to make him jealous, which Veronica denies. Veronica and the jock actually have a fun time together. They go beast mode and laser tag and seem to have chemistry.
Okay, you know what? Tell you what. I promise I'll tell Heather that you rolled your eyes the whole time, and I'll be our little secret. Come on.
Okay.
But then, in the last fifth of the episode, Veronica claims that, yes, she did go out with the jock to make JD jealous. This is despite no real build-up to this aside from their prior conversation where she denied it. The jock takes Veronica on a surprise outing. All is well. Until JD shows up and kills him. He then launches into a tirade about how much he loves Veronica. It sounds more like the musings of a serial killer than anything else. But how does Veronica react?
You had me from the moment I saw Ram's lifeless body.
And remember, this was all in episode 3 alone!
Episode 4 ends with Veronica crashing her car with JD inside. Why? Because she didn't like how he handled a conversation he had with her childhood best friend. That's really all you need to know. There's no more context needed in this episode. Episode 5 starts with Veronica seemingly acting normal. This one is also in JD's first-person perspective for some reason. The end reveals she's an actual psychopath that killed her other childhood best friend after an argument. She then attempts to kill JD. Again. And episode 6 is dedicated to her quote-unquote teaching him to be the perfect boyfriend. It reminded me of Misery, because that was the feeling I had when I watched it. Oh, and I guess it reminded me of the Paul Sheldon, Annie Wilkes arc in Misery by Stephen King. But at the end of the episode, after Pavloving JD into submission, Veronica changes her mind. We then get another ham-fisted reference to the movie. Specifically, the scene where Veronica fakes a suicide attempt.
And I'm never gonna love anybody again.
One more thing before we move on. Almost none of this is ever brought up again or influences the character's decisions going forward.
We should have seen her grappling more intensely with this moral dilemma. For fuck's sake, show her struggling with the allure of JD's rebellion. Show her comparing that to her inherent moral compass. You know, she has one. Her ultimate stand against JD should feel like a hard-earned victory, not just a sudden switch. JD's character arc is more consistent than Veronica's, but there are still some quirks that are never addressed. Let's start with his backstory. When JD was a child, his mom died via suicide in front of him. In the movie and the musical, this is only revealed at around the halfway point, and the revelation shows just how much of a fucked up kid he is. But in the show, they spoil it in the first millisecond. It's the first fucking scene of the entire series. Not only is it out of context, but it's redundant. JD retells this story in the exact same episode.
Regular night, Mom vacuumed, cooked dinner, set the table, and then just in time for Pops and I to get home, she doused the whole place in gasoline, put a bullet in her head.
JD's backstory being revealed so soon kind of takes the edge off him, if you know what I mean.
In the movie and the musical, he starts off as this super mysterious new guy who wins Veronica over with his words. You know, before she realized he was insane. But here, we already know he's fucked up. We already know he's willing to do fucked up things. And as a result, the mystery is gone. What doesn't help is there's a second aspect to JD's backstory. His dad, you see, ran a company that blew up buildings. Their relationship is entirely unhealthy. It's even worse than the musical, where it's all but confirmed he drove his wife to suicide. None of this is ever mentioned in the show. The only real trauma we're shown is JD's mom dying. He's supposed to be the subversion of loner rebel kids, despite what Tumblr thinks. But the show does away with this and makes him, well, more of an incel than anything.
And that's all I have to say about the characters. Moving on. The show lives in its own reality that's not bound by the rules of society. Granted, the original Heathers was not the most realistic piece of fiction, but it was still grounded enough to feel real in its own way.
For example, let's go back to McNamara being groomed by her teacher. The build-up to this was fine, I guess. Like, we're told she's a lesbian and she gets caught with a male teacher. Okay, but the fallout of this incident comes too quickly and is way too unrealistic. The popular kids ostracize her for, quote, enabling a pedophile. This was instead of doing what normal people do and realize she was being groomed. The faculty get their hands on a photo of McNamara with the teacher. They argue about whether the photo was staged in front of McNamara and that teacher. This was instead of doing what normal school staff do and suspend the teacher. And when more students come forward and get the teacher fired, McNamara only cares about how it affects her, specifically because most of the other kids he groomed were less attractive.
I've talked about this before, but there's an infamous case from the Houston area where an 8th grade teacher groomed and essayed his former student. Do you know what happened when word got out? He was immediately fired and charged with sexual assault. He spent 6 months in jail until he registered as a sex offender for the rest of his life. Here, I'll prove it to you. Here's his listing on the Texas DPS website.
But instead of arresting him, the teacher is simply fired from his job. That allows him to almost roofie someone in episode 7 before Veronica and JD tag team and kill his sorry ass. And Veronica pins the murder of her childhood friend on him because of course she does.
You might be thinking, so what? That's like one example. So here's another example.
After McNamara's suicide, the school staff band together. They try and figure out ways to spread suicide awareness. What do they end up doing? Well,
as you all know, I was planning on mounting an upscale production of Rent, but in light of recent events, I've been working on, in my own time, mind you, an original musical written by me. Teenage suicide. Don't do it.
Yep, they made a musical. And no, the messaging of it is not subtle. It involves a lemming deciding, hey, maybe I should kill myself today. Before, of course, deciding to not do that. It stars Chandler because of course it does. At least she can sing all right.
No, Charlotte, you must join us all. Your dreams, they don't matter.
And the musical, the way the teachers dealt with the suicides was still ridiculous, but it was still grounded.
In them, the hippie guidance counselor talked everyone into having a big feeling session. During said session, the kids sat around. They discussed their feelings. You know, exactly what it says on the tin. Yes, It's just as effective as the Lemming opera, but it's a more realistic course of action. During this arc, the show has its equivalent of the unpopular student attempts suicide but survives subplot. This time it's Brett Cooper. I know her character has a name, but she doesn't respect queer people, so I won't respect her shitty acting career. Brett's clowned on for attempting to off herself like the popular kids, like in the movie. The difference, though, is that it's 2018 and not 1989. There have been many instances of less popular students committing suicide during that, 29-year time span? So this kind of logic just doesn't really work anymore. Let me put it another way. In 2000, almost 4,300 Americans between the ages of 10 and 24 committed suicide. In 2018, that number nearly doubled. So forgive me if I don't find humor in people making an ass of themselves when it comes to suicide. Besides, suicidal ideation runs in my family. It's not something to take lightly, I feel.
Oh, speaking of death, the active shooter drill. My God, the active shooter drill in this show was ass!
For those of you not in the States, schools here tend to hold lockdown drills every now and then. This is so we can practice what to do in case a school shooter comes. Yes, these happened. Yes, America is very dystopian. I fucking hate it here. Here's how the drills worked in the show. The kids were in lockdown, but they had the theater teacher be the school shooter of the drill, I guess. He would go from classroom to classroom, quote unquote, killing students at random. The kids that, fake died would go to quote unquote heaven, which was a snack room or some shit. It's never shown on screen, but it's implied that it's that. The surviving kids were then shown being taken to the boiler room for, you know what, I don't even remember. It only served as a build-up to the series finale where JD sets up a bomb in the boiler room like in the movie. This time it just happens to be a prom, like fuck this shit.
For the record, this isn't how school shooting drills work. All that happens is we turn off the lights, lock the doors, and shut the fuck up. And that's still the case as of 2024. At least at the high school my brother went to. Taking breaks from reality are all well and good, but doing it too much can take you out of the story, so, yeah, don't do that. Heathers, like its predecessor, attempts to make some commentary about the society we live in. Of course, the key word here is tries.
They tried the hardest with the commentary in episode 1. In the beginning, Veronica meets with a hippie guidance counselor about college applications. Now, Veronica wants to try and get into an Ivy League school, which are some of the most difficult schools to get into, not counting Southern or public Ivies. The counselor tries to reason with Veronica, mentioning that she hasn't really, sold herself aside from a good SAT score. While the counselor makes perfectly valid points, the scene itself plays like she's trying too hard and doesn't realize how society works.
Good person's not gonna cut it. We are trying for Ivy Leagues here. They need to know your identity, your brand. What makes Veronica
I hate to say it, but the counselor is right. These days, your GPA and SAT score really don't matter. Veronica's acting like she's signing up for a dating app instead of applying for college.
But the guidance counselor quickly loses the high ground. She says something that no one should ever say.
By any chance, are you a hermaphrodite?
No?
I'm sorry, but what the fuck is this? As much as people claim affirmative action makes cishet white boys unable to pursue their future, it's not nearly as prominent as people claim. And it's never been based on LGBT identity. What the fuck are you talking about, hippie guidance counselor? I'm not saying I don't have criticisms about the college application process. I do. I really do. But Heathers genuinely does not understand how the admissions process works.
And I'm not talking out of my ass here. This show was supposed to premiere my senior year of high school, filming wrapped as I was finalizing most of my applications. You send in your SAT or ACT or both if you're an overachiever like me, your personal essay, usually 1 or 2 depending on how many colleges you're applying to, teacher recommendations, your transcripts, and maybe your portfolio if you need one for the program you're in, then chances are you'll have to do an interview with some of the schools you're applying to, and then you'll have to wait some months before you learn if you're accepted, unless you do early action, which not all schools offer. A good way to provide commentary on college applications would be to stress how fucking time-consuming they are. Like, even though many schools have shared application sites, it still takes hours to do them all. And you have to pay to apply too. What the fuck is with that? You have to pay to apply to a school you don't even know if you'll be accepted to. And you're not even sure if you'll go to if you are accepted. I guess I just revealed what I hate about the application process. Oh well, moving on.
Later that same episode, the Heathers bash a jock for the crime of wearing a t-shirt with an offensive caricature on it. Instead of offering some smart commentary about how those mascots really are offensive or, you know, anything that could be classified as fair commentary, the Heathers instead act as if the jock is wearing the exact same outfit as one of them. The scene is written to try and make us think the Heathers are in the wrong, that they're being petty and stupid by calling out someone for wearing an offensive t-shirt.
Again, this takes place in 2018. This was when Confederate-named schools and Native American mascots were being reevaluated. Hell, this was the decade Houston public schools did both.
Don't worry, it gets worse!
Don't you think that's a bit offensive? Dylan Lutz is 1/16th First Nations peoples.
It's cool. Honestly, I didn't even notice.
This isn't about you, Quat.
First of all, any white person claiming any kind of Native American identity would be totally obnoxious about it. Second, this entire scene comes across as you woke fucks are overreacting. Fuck you!
The remaining 9 episodes significantly toned down this commentary. Fortunately, thank fuck. But it's still there. For example, that musical I mentioned earlier is supposed to be a jab at how careless adults can be about teen mental health.
Hell, the adults in general are a walking commentary on how callous they can be about youth mental health, which isn't the best way to characterize anyone. Sure, you could argue the show's only 10 episodes long. They only had 10 episodes to do what they wanted to do. They can't make everyone well-rounded. Well, that's not what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for those characters to have any semblance of character. I want them to have some personality outside of being callous about the kids. Oh, and making the worst possible decisions to address the school's quote-unquote suicide crisis. Like in the last episode, Judy and Veronica fight about blowing up the school during prom. A side character sees this fight. He freaks out, does the correct thing, and runs to the adults. This is one of those moments you expect to be grounded, where the teachers finally do something and try to stop the bomb. Of course they wouldn't succeed, but they'd at least try. Instead,
language like that is unacceptable, young man.
Dylan, we're dealing with a serious issue and do not need to be interrupted by your coke rants.
We have to find out where these kids are getting the drugs.
Well, clearly from Japan.
Man, fuck you! This isn't funny or shocking or even entertaining. This is frustrating. You've been building up this show to be some kind of epic subversion to what we are used to when we think of Heathers. And it ends with a dud. A big, fat, fucking dud! Fuck you!
But now that we're on the topic of it, let's go over everything wrong with... So like I said, the series finale takes place during prom. I don't have my prom dress anymore though. Why? Well, unlike some people, I I'm not desperately trying to cling onto my youth. I actually wore this to a party back in November, but I haven't put it on since. Wouldn't be the first time I reused a fancy dress though. Holy, even my prom dress was reused. The finale is the only episode worth dissecting. Episode 1, for all its vagueness, sticks closely to the original film's source material. And aside from what I've mentioned before, episodes 2 through 9 are incredibly boring.
Hell, I've skipped some plot threads because they contribute nothing to the front line. Like, this is why I skipped over Betty Finn. This is why I haven't talked about Duke's on-again, off-again relationship with the jock. This is why I haven't deep dived into Veronica murdering her childhood best friend. Because none of it fucking matters. What does matter is that it's now prom. McNamara and Duke are dead. Veronica sees JD set up a bomb in the boiler room. And that is where we finally get a look at what he believes. Again, 10 episodes in!
Soon there'll be doctors and lawyers and captains of industry. And the virus their parents infected them with in the form of good schools and shiny new BMWs will spread and keep spreading until it smothers the remaining good left in this world. And so, a mass suicide will finally be the thing that wakes people up from their chain store, mega church, Wi-Fi TV-induced slumber.
Oh, so JD actually is a psychopath like he is in the movies. Glad we finally set that straight. 10 episodes in! And you might be wondering, why is he blowing up the school? Well, Veronica asks that exact same question.
Society nods its head at any horror the American teenager can bring upon itself. Our country acts like we don't want any more tragedies. And yet, shock of shocks, they keep happening. Why? Because we want them to. We want the tragedy.
Okay. I'm getting the sense the writers assumed JD's rambling is how school shooters actually think. It's not. Like, don't you get it? There's never a single clear-cut reason why. All the most well-known school shootings came from a multitude of reasons. The Columbine shooting? Inconclusive. Virginia Tech? Inspired by Columbine and carried out by a mentally disturbed man, but overall inconclusive. Sandy Hook? Same thing as Virginia Tech. Parkland? Exactly the fucking same! And it's unethical to overexpose these kinds of things. Yes, people should know about them, but no one needs to hear the nitty-gritty. There is a fine line between reporting these shootings and exploiting them for the views. And blowing up the school is going to do nothing to stop these fucking shootings. I cannot fucking even believe I have to say this.
Veronica hesitates at first like a normal human being, but that changes when she tries to tell Chandler of JD's plan. Before she can get the word out, the queen herself chides Veronica for wearing red because that's her color. And she adds that Duke would stay in her lane. This causes Veronica to snap and ask Chandler why she's a mega bitch. She responds by verbally beating her down with her quips and chops, and brings up a completely valid point.
I seem to recall that I got so in your head that you tried to kill me. Doesn't get more influential than that, does it, Veronica? I made you so angry that you wanted me dead. I revel in that every day.
Hell yeah! What a fucking queen!
Veronica's ego being shattered causes her to run back into JD's arms. They decide to set the bomb up together, but their plans get thwarted when...
Did you hear? Some loser freak just attacked Jefferson High's prom, and they're saying it's the biggest school shooting ever.
Okay, I have some concerns.
First of all, why are the kids saying this school shooting is huge? Like, in real life, if this happened, kids would freak the fuck out. Hell, you know that text convo I had with my brother about lockdowns? Well, here's the rest of it, where he tells me about a false alarm caused by a storm. Second, Why aren't they evacuating the school? The kid said a specific school name, so it's probably local, maybe even within the same metro. So every prom in a 50-mile radius would be canceled immediately. And third, why are you interrupting a makeout sesh to spill these deets, you perv? Regardless, this shooting causes JD to change his mind and abort the plan because the school shooting would overshadow the bombing. For some reason. Seriously, what the fuck is this logic here? Veronica chastises him for this, calling him a Heather. This for seemingly only doing things for the sake of his image and how others perceive him. Of course, this is basically how all the characters in this fucking show work. They're putting on a facade. They only care about what others think of them. Not even Chandler is innocent of this sin.
She's just more open about it, I suppose.
This causes Veronica and JD to shoot each other. This in turn causes that scene with the teachers I told you about earlier. The adults continue to dress code Chandler after the kid runs for his life or whatever. That fight moves outside. Because they were outside, Chandler and the teachers survive the explosion. Chandler gives an interview to the media about it. The media breaks journalism ethics by not asking for her name in relation to the incident. They just call her Veronica's friend for some reason. Chandler believes she'll be forgotten. Sad. I won't forget you, Queen. This culminates in an ending actually inspired by the original ending to the Heathers film, the one that never ended up being shot. The students all reunite in heaven and go to prom together. The gay nerds, Brett Cooper, and even Duke and McNamara are reunited in the afterlife. They dance and they revel, but Veronica and JD are not among those celebrating. No one can see or hear them, and they can't even see or hear each other. All they can do is watch the dancers dance for all eternity. They can never have human contact with anyone ever again. The end.
And for what it's worth, the ending did manage to cuddle the show's loose ends. Sure, it more like blew up those ends with a bomb, but at least it makes for an ending that's not just circling back to square one. So, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I downed a shit ton of Drano before I wrote this part, so I really do not know how to end it. I'm done here, like, cut to the conclusion, like, I have nothing left to say. So there you have it, the 2018 Heathers TV show. It tried to bring a fresh, modern take to the cult classic, but let's be honest, it missed the mark in a lot of ways. Sure, the new casting and contemporary setting had potential, but the show fell flat with its characters, its one-dimensional ass characters, and questionable creative choices. It is instead of delivering thoughtful commentary on heavy topics like mental health and bullying, it was just uncomfortable to watch. Hell, part of the reason this video took stupidly long to make was because it was an uncomfortable watch. I was disgusted. I was bored. Parts of the show legitimately gave me headaches that lasted for hours. It's just, this isn't a fun show. It's me. It sucks. And that's basically it. It fucking sucks. But for now, I shall take my leave. Good night and goodbye.
I am damaged, far too damaged, but you're not beyond repair. Stick around here, make things better, 'cause you beat me fair and square. Please stand back now, little further. Don't know what this thing will do. Hope you'll miss me, wish you'd kiss me, then you know I worship you. I'll trade my life for yours, and once I disappear, clean up the mess down here. Our love is God. Our love is God. Our love is God. Our love is God.